All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Wednesday morning Inner Circle Live session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody is doing well today. We're going to dive in, get right to it. So as always, let's turn off all distractions, prepare your minds and your bodies to engage, as you guys always do. And for the courtesy of everybody on the call, please ensure that your mic is muted if you're not actively asking a question or making a comment. All right. So, had some interesting data come out last night. We'll take a look at it. And then I want to hear from you guys this morning. I want to know what pairs you guys are looking at. And we'll take a look at those charts and see where they sit. And I'll give my input. All right. So let's hop over to trading economics. All right. So China exports and imports sink. China's trade surplus narrowed to 69.8 billion in November from 71.7 a year earlier, missing a forecast of 78.1 billion, right? So it was almost 10 billion short. Exports sank 8.7%, and imports plunged 10.6%, the steepest fall since early 2020, amid deteriorating global and domestic demand, as well as impacts of COVID infections. So this is going to be interesting, especially today, as the Aussie and the New Zealand are primary trade partners of China, right? So generally when we have impacts in China, we see those two currencies be impacted. So when the New York session opens, it'll be interesting to see how it responds to this news coming out of China. Okay, so that's something we definitely want to keep our eyes on. Crude oil hits lowest since December 2021. Futures were trading around $73 a barrel, lowest since December. Sentiments remain clouded. Worries about weak global demand. Advanced economies, especially U.S. and Europe, are witnessing a drop in manufacturing activity due to tightening financial conditions. At the same time, sluggish Chinese customs data compounded fears about the global economy's health. Still looking for the demand, looking for the demand side, but offering some respite to investors. China has been dialing back COVID-related restrictions following widespread protests, right? On the supply front, OPEC Plus decided to stick to their existing plans of reducing oil output by 2 million barrels a day from November through 2023, all right? Investors will also assess the impact of the latest restrictions on Russia, including the price cap and European Union embargo on seaborne imports, right? So that European embargo is going in place this month, right? So all oil being transported to Europe via the sea from Russia, via water, ships, is coming to an end, right? So we shall see how that impacts oil. We could see a continued deterioration there, right? So we'll continue to watch that. Let's hop back. Yeah, those are the two big ones. Eurozone Q3 GDP growth revised higher, right? So the GDP coming out of Europe is better than what the estimate showed, right? So that's some positive news coming out of Europe. So trade balance there. Today, as we know, we got rate statement for Canada. That's the big news for today. So we will watch that and see how it impacts the market at 10 o'clock. All right. Questions from a fundamental perspective. No?
No, the chat disabled though.
Indeed. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Apologize for that. There you go. Should be good now. Appreciate you. All right, cool deal. So let's take well, I'll go over to the charts. Let's take a couple minutes, drop any pairs that you guys have your eyes on in the chat, and we'll take a look at those for the morning while I take a look at the DXY. All right, so drop those pairs in the chat that you have your eyes on. Okay. No, I think Reese, to your question, think the China news will cause oil to rise. No, I think it's going to cause it to continue to sink. I think it's going to cause it to continue to sink. Continued demand fears. So there's no demand, high supply, so price will continue to decrease, I believe. Yep, no, you're good. You're good. It's a good question. Dollar Swiss. Pound CAD. Yeah. That'll be an interesting one today. All right, we'll start with those three. And anybody else that has any pairs, feel free to drop those in. We will take a look at the DXY real quick, and then we will then we'll move forward. So DXY here, right? It's trying to push above this previous support level. Okay, we thought it might hold as resistance. We'll see, right? We slightly pushed above here on the 4, and we're just still pretty much hovering right now. So we'll continue to watch this. We'll continue to watch this to see if price starts to come back to the downside here. Okay, so we'll watch and see how this plays out. But we're shy of a 382 here on the 4, right? But trying to push to the upside. So we'll continue to monitor that. That's where we are from a DXY perspective. Take a look at this pound yen, which it's been interesting. Overall on this pound yen, come out to the monthly, right? And we're sitting at this previous monthly support level, right? We broke it, came back to retest it. We haven't been able to stay above, right? So we got a 618 retracement here on the monthly time frame, right? But we weren't able to break out to the downside. So this level I'm watching to see if we're able to break above it, continue pressing higher. Okay. So we'll have to watch that closer to see. We're trying to get bullish here. On the month, we'll drop to the weekly. We know we got this fresh AB boundary, and we just wicked this 382 here, right? And came back down to this weekly support. And this is the range that we've been playing in for the past month or so. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see, right, what comes of this level here. I have it listed here as a weekly level, but this is that monthly, that on the monthly time frame, this was marked up as a monthly level as well. So that's the level that we're watching. Excuse me. Let's see if we're able to break back above and continue pressing higher. Matching the extension is here at 186,631. Okay. Japan, it is having those talks about the potential of changing stance on monetary policy, but nothing has happened yet, right? So keep us on edge there, but until something happens, right, we could see this continue to press to the upside. So we'll watch it and see how it plays out there from a weekly time frame perspective. Come here to the daily, and we haven't gotten a 382 on the daily, right? And you can clearly see now that range that we're playing in here. You clearly see that range that we're playing in here, all right? So we'll see what happens again when we get back to this 169,009 level. Got a daily level here, right? Currently, this 80-20 scenario is playing out, 382 down here, 161. So we do have potential to push down to get to that level, right? But we got to break through that weekly level first to get there, right? So this range could continue to play out for a bit, right? And then we'll see if we get a breakout in one direction or the other. Okay. So again, this is that level that we want to watch from a weekly perspective. Okay. So we're trying to push back up higher now. We'll see if we get back to the top of the range and then give us a move back down to the bottom. That's a daily support right there. Right. 2 to the right, 2 to the left. Okay. So we'll watch that there from a daily and weekly perspective. On the 4, right? This is just that range. Okay. Been pretty choppy. Not much to look at here on the 4-hour time frame. Right. Potentially we can find some lower time frame moves, right? Some intraday plays, but this is where we sit right now. Just in that range there. Okay. Take that level, bring it down. There we go. So we get down here to the 1, and we did have this push down to a 50% retracement level. Okay. We did have that play. So now we want to watch this to see if we're able to rise back up, right? 50% matching the extension is the 1618 at 168,770. Okay. So we'll see if this lower time frame holds as resistance and we push back down, or do we continue to rise? Okay. So I'm waiting on this one, right? Because I am looking for another push to the upside here, right? Based on the higher time frames and the range that we're playing in. So we shall see. We shall see. If you get a swing high to form here, right? You can look for that double top scenario, right? That's if you get that swing high to form there. Okay. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out on the 1-hour time frame. But like I said, I'm looking for price to continue to rise here until it shows me something different. Okay. Questions on the pound yen? Nope. We'll move this trend line to the outermost point of that range. Just been a sideways push. All right. Benny, good morning, bro.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning, Ryan?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Good.
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. Always glad to be here in the markets.
Absolutely, man. Glad you can make it.
Appreciate it.
China imports and exports came in short.
I know, right? The global demand concerns. Demand concerns. You know, it kind of falls in line with what you had talked about yesterday with Jamie Dimon, but he wasn't the only one though.
He was not the only one.
It was a lot of bank executives warning of, the forthcoming economic slowdown. So, but I mean, I think that's where we're headed.
I think that's where we're headed as well.
You know, with like for the odds that you're starting to see a little pressure come in.
Yep.
On that Aussie with the what was that, the third quarter numbers yesterday? That came in.
Yeah,
that came in for Aussie
short.
was less than expected. So in regards to GDP. So
yep.
So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting December and moving into next year to see how these big players start to tighten their belts.
Yes, sir. And it's definitely happening. Definitely happening. I've also heard some of your major companies are having internal meetings. There haven't been anything external yet, but just about some tightening of the belt that they're doing, right? Bonuses being cut and no changing of positions, no raises, things like that are happening at some of your larger organizations. So it'll be interesting to see once that information is released to the public. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and just one of the things I had to remind myself in December too, on top of everything that's going on, it is December. It is the end of the year. you know, and sometimes you
Budget.
do start to see in December some of the liquidity start to dry up. So you could get some of these extended moves, you know, without, you know, a lot of the corrections that you typically would expect because the liquidity is starting to dry up. So has
That's a
the
great
ability
point.
to push the market in, you know, one particular direction for a longer period of time than you would think. So just something for everybody to keep in mind as we close out the year.
That's a great point. Appreciate that. Appreciate that reminder. Cool deal.
Indeed.
Any questions on that conversation, good people? No? All right. Cool deal. So let's
so definitely, I'm sorry. So definitely,
ahead.
you know, make sure that you're using your confirmations, you know, for some of these correction moves, whether it's with the trend or counter trend, you know, because they run a little longer in one direction when there's not necessarily enough liquidity on one on the other side, you know. So just use your trend line breaks. You know, if you're using your cloud, if you're using moving averages, really wait on get that extra confirmation on your setups. You know, and then really manage that trade a little tighter. You know, because that bit of increase in the volatility with the liquidity drying up. So, yep, things could
That's
be a little
actually
bit
a really
irregular.
great point too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point too. Trade management. Trade management is key, right? Trade management is key. Thanks, bro.
You're welcome.
All right. So we got a hand raised. Poppy, good morning.
Hi, Ryan. I'm sorry, it's a mistake. How are you, though?
Doing well. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, thank you. Good, thank you.
Good to see you. All right. So let's take a look at this. Take a look at the pound CAD, and then we'll take a look at the pound Swiss since we're over on these pounds. So we've been watching this one, right? So here on the weekly, strong push to the upside. We broke this previous weekly resistance here, right? In pretty strong fashion, right? We broke it here slightly, retest a little bit, and now we're trying to get a push higher. We got a previous support level right here that we're retesting. We'll see it again on the daily time frame, right? But we're sitting at this previous support level. We'll see if it acts as resistance, right? We got that news coming in today. Okay, so we'll watch and see how price plays around at that level from a weekly time frame perspective. So here on the daily, and this is that level here, which is also resistance, and this is that was a weekly support, right? So we're sitting right at that zone, okay? And we hit that D extension, take that out. We hit the D extension, right? Now we want to see if we get a swing high and price starts to pull back a little bit, right? So we'll watch and see, or do we get a push? All right, we'll see if this Canadian news gives us that catalyst, right? So we'll watch and see how it plays at that key level, okay? So we get to the 4, right? And this is kind of what Ben is talking about, these extended moves starting to happen, right? It's just trekking along to the upside, right? No real clean break of the trend line, so we'll shift it to the outermost point. And we're looking here, okay? So we got an evening star pattern here, right? Decision, indecision, decision. Price now is pushing back to the upside, okay? So we'll see if we get a consolidated move, break to the upside or break to the downside, right? But we'll want to see a nice convincing break and then even potentially breaking back below this 165.021, which Benny mentioned last night, right? So breaking back below that level will be key for us to really have a good short opportunity, right? Breaking back below that key level. Okay, so that's what I'm watching here from a higher time frame perspective, this daily level and this weekly level. See if we stay in the range or if we push out to get to that D extension. Okay, right now we're in this shallow retracement at 118, 127 phase, but we'll see what happens with the news. Okay, we'll see what happens with the news. All right, so that's the 4-hour perspective. On your one, oops, you got a similar look. Okay, got a similar look. That was your trend line break there. It trickled to the side and pushed back up to the top. So we'll shift it out like so. Okay, so that's where we sit. That's where we sit. Okay, we want to see if we get this confirmation of the trend line break and even a break below this this weekly level. So that's the pound CAD. Questions there? Joy, what are you seeing on this one?
I had my concerns about that that candle that on the 4-hour, because I seen the evening star. My order had hit. And when I looked at it this morning, I'm like, but I say it didn't break. So I said, okay, it might start consolidating. I mean, I'm in some profit, but just weighing my option of whether or not to hold it or not.
For sure. For sure. I dig it. I dig it. We'll watch and see. Manage that trade, right? And then, like I said, if we break above this daily level here, right, that yep, CAD news at 10 o'clock may give us. Yep. If it comes in strong, right, we could see a breakdown. If it comes in weak, we could see it continue to rise. So we'll see. We'll see, right? We definitely could have an answer here coming up soon. Definitely could have an answer coming soon. Okay. But I feel you on that evening star pattern. And so excuse me. We'll see what happens at the top. We'll see what happens at the top. Cool deal. Hey, Reese, I forgot to ask you, what are you seeing on the pound yen? You looking at anything specific there? Calvin asks, how do you know when to adjust your trend line? You adjust the trend line only in areas of consolidation. Only in areas of consolidation. So we look here, right? And originally, let's walk back a little bit, right? This trend line here, the goal of the trend line is to get to the highest point without cutting off any wicks or bodies, right? So before any of this occurred, this B boundary, right, and this push up here was our high. So our trend line would have come like this, right? Trend line would have come like that. And then potentially if you had a more aggressive trend line, it would have come through the high like that, right? Then we have price push down, then push higher. So that invalidates that trend line. And now we're looking here. Price came down and pushed. So now we're out to this point, right? And we have an inner trend line that's running, right? The goal is to get to the high, as close to the highest point as possible, right? So this would have been that original trend line, that original inner trend line, okay? But you see this trend line break, it was just more of a sideways push than a strong bearish break, right? Just a sideways push here, right? Consolidation. So when you don't get a decisive, strong directional candle, you adjust the trend line to the outermost point. Now, the other thing that occurred here is price pushed back and it's coming back to the top of this range, right? So that's another indication that we could also be in a range. So in these scenarios where either you get a consolidative break of the trend line, right? Meaning price moves sideways through your trend line, or price pushes back to the top of the range. That's an indication that you're in a range and you move the trend line to the outermost point. Okay. Only time that you adjust your trend line. Okay. Other than that, the goal is to get to the highest point without cutting off any wicks or bodies. That makes sense, Calvin? And as we move through this morning, I'll show you some other examples as well. Hope that answered. Could that be a break and retest of the trend line? Sure. You could say that. I would prefer, right, to have a nice clean break, right? Just as the additional confirmation. If you read it that way, it could be a break and retest, sure. But again, this wasn't a strong bearish break for me. right? So I want to see a nice strong candle. If this was the breaking candle, right, or this was the breaking candle, sure, but these candles got short and choppy real quick, right? So I don't see that as a convincing move to the downside here. So that's the reason for my adjustment to the outermost point and seeing it as consolidation as opposed to a strong directional break. Make sense? For sure. And you're short on the pound yen, above the previous high. Cool. All right, sweet. Any other questions on that pound cat? Nope. Okay. Cool deal. Let's see what we got here. All right. Dollar Swiss. Dollar cat is still running beautifully. Dollar Swiss. We're gonna clean this one up. Go back to the weekly. Take some of these out. Let's see. That level's no longer. That level's no longer. That level's no longer. That level's no longer. Okay. Let's see what we got. Here, let's do this. We're going to clear this chart on the weekly. We'll start from scratch. Fresh markup on the dollar Swiss. Got our extreme high, black. Extreme high there. Our extreme low here, right? All right, we'll drop in support and resistance, like so. All right, so lock it up. Drop in our levels here. And here. And we'll get that one too. All right, now down to the weekly, we'll do the same thing. Change that to blue. Resistance level there. And we got support here and here. So right now, right, just looking at this, you see from a weekly perspective, that price push up, created a second high here, and then came down, right? Strong push to the downside. So the next weekly level is here at 91,937. Okay. From a weekly time frame perspective, this is the range, right? Top of the range here, trying to make its way back to the bottom of the range, right? So as we're going through this, you see, right? You zoom out, right? Step outside the frame, as Benny says, and you see it's just a range, just pushing sideways, right? Came to the top. Now we're trying to make our way back to the bottom. Strong bearish action here. And now we're getting some consolidation, some slowing down of that move, okay? So that's the weekly perspective. We'll drop down to the daily, okay? And you see that range a little bit more clearly now, right? See the range a little bit more clearly now, okay? So we got some daily levels in here. Right there, there, and support, and support, and support. Okay, so strong push to the downside, right? Created a new level of daily support, right? Broke a previous level of daily support here, right? That was a previous level of support there. Now we're starting to slow down and trying to push sideways in this range, in the smaller range here, right? But back to the bottom, broke, and you can see this as, right? This was a previous consolidative period. We broke out, we consolidated, came back and retested that zone, okay? So two ways to look at it: breakout, consolidation, retest, right? So now, because this is sideways, right, we'll run our fib off of the high here and look at the push to the downside, right? Like so. So now this is what you have coming out of that range on the daily. AB boundary, shallow retracement, and we're just hovering here in this B boundary zone. Okay, just hovering in the B boundary zone. So we want to see, are we able to break out to the upside, or do we have another push to the downside before we get that reversal up? Okay, so one way to look at this. Now, if we zoom out, right, and come all the way back and run our fib off of the low here, right, we get this view that we've been working in for quite some time, right? This is the longer term view here where we have a 618 retracement, okay? And we're sitting at this key level of daily support. So with those two views, right, you have some confluence, right? Some confirmation of things, right? So you're running this smaller wave in the range to the downside. You got a fresh AB boundary at a 618 retracement on the daily time frame, right? And you have daily support here. Okay. So that's some confluence that we could be in for potential reversal at some point, right? Even if we broke these two daily levels, right? Excuse me, and pushed into this 118, 127 zone, it's a 786 retracement, right? Still got key levels that we're working in, right? In a high probability reversal zone of that 118, 127 after a shallow retracement. Okay. So this is what we're looking at as a potential range for price to reverse. Okay. So now it's just about seeing what happens and when the market wants to reverse. Okay. We don't have dollar news coming until next week. I think it's the 14th. So at that point, that could be the catalyst, but what happens in between time? Okay. So that's what we're looking at from a daily time frame perspective, is this zone here, right? This B boundary to this 118, 127 down to that 786 retracement off of, we call this our capital fib, right? It's our capital fib. These are our sub fibs. Okay. So we got some confluence here in that zone. So that's our 4-hour look. Okay. Now we know that that is the case. We'll keep that zone there for us to reference, and we'll drop down to the 4. Now on our 4-hour time frame, right? These are our waves to the downside. Okay. We got a 618 retracement. Matching the extension off that 618 retracement is here, right? Which is in line with that 118, 127 zone off the daily time frame. Okay. In line with that 118, 127 zone off the daily time frame. So we could be in for this move to occur before we get a bounce to the upside. Right. So just a deeper retracement off that daily fib. Okay. But in this zone that we're watching. So we're hovering right here to see what happens. See what happens. Okay. So that's the 4-hour look. So confirmation on the daily and the 4-hour, drop to the 1. Right. We'll run our fibs off the high again. Right. And this also gives us a little bit more confirmation, similar to that 4-hour look, right? Just a 50% retracement. We came just shy of the 618 level there. Matching the extension is still this 1618. Okay, so that tells us that we could be in for another push to the downside, potentially get to that D extension. So on all three levels, looks like we could be in for this move down first before we get a reversal. Right? Still bullish on the dollar, still think the Fed is going to come in strong, right? But we could be in for another push to the downside before we get a reversal, meaning on that DXY, we could also be in for, right, a retracement to occur off of that move that it made to the upside, right? Potentially, right? So we'll see what the market gives us, but this is how I see it, and this is what I'm looking for, right, as a potential move on this one. We still have to break through these daily levels, right? So these levels will be key because they could hold, right? And if they hold, right, we'll see a bounce and a push like that, right? So those are two scenarios. If these daily levels hold, right, we'll look for trend line break and a buying opportunity to the upside, right? If price pushes into that daily 118, 127 zone on the sub fib and a 786 retracement, we'll look for these weekly and daily levels to hold, and we'll look for a trend line break and a push to the upside, right? So that's how I'm looking at this. So we can run our trend line here, coming off the high, like so, right? Continue to make those lower highs and lower lows, right? Couldn't quite break through the trend line there, so we'll shift it, bang, right? So now we're watching this like this. Okay. And that's what we're looking for. Now, if we get a nice bullish break off this trend line, right? Nice bullish push and a retest and continuation, then that's your break, right? But be aware that we could see, even if we're in consolidation and then another break to the downside, that is potential for us before we get a move to the upside, I think. Questions on the dollar Swiss? Joy, what are your thoughts here? I know you're looking long, right?
I am long. I kept the old weekly support line in at 93700. Because looking at the 4 how I got it zoomed out, it was in the M. And this would have been the third leg. So there's also confluence because right at 93801 is a 4-hour level 2. So and then I was playing it off the 618 off the weekly. But then, like what you just said, when I ran my fibs again, I was like, on the one I was like, that I seen how that D extension had pushed through to the A. And I've been holding this for a while, but my entry,
So you holding that original entry off that original low?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm at 94211.
Yeah, somewhere in that range there.
Yeah, and so it's like, the drawdown ain't bad, so I ain't worried about it because I was in a good spot. But I was just gonna play it just to 95429 because I did see that it still had potential on going down because I really don't like the Swiss, but I said I was gonna conquer this nemesis along with Euro GP. But yeah.
Where you got your stop place?
My stop is at 93263 because that's a 4-hour level there.
Right here. Okay. I dig that. That. Hey, you calculated it out. Let it play. All right. We'll see what happens. Right. Had some nice profit to the upside on that. Right. We came back down. So we'll see. Yep. So, and if you get stopped out, cool. We'll reassess and we'll look for another opportunity. Cool deal. We'll watch it and see how it goes. Appreciate you. Any questions here on this dollar Swiss? Benny, you got any pairs you're keeping an eye on? as it moved through the week?
I from a swing perspective, I got short on that Aussie dollar out of that zone. So it's continued to move to the downside. There was a nice trend line break on that.
The Aussie dollar, you said?
Yeah, the Aussie dollar. Joy said you did too. That's good. Right. Yeah, I'm short on that Aussie dollar.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I want to see that. I want to see that keep falling. These euros, I'm looking for opportunities on these euros. This euro is strong, man. Like
It
this.
is. It is. You had a few of them push.
I'm looking to get long that euro yen. I'm trying to look for an opportunity to get in on it.
Yeah.
4 and on the 4 double bottomed, and it's pushing. See it there, and it's pushing long. So this euro is bullish, but I keep missing it on so many opportunities to get long on it. I mean, they're making real nice runs, but that's about it. That's about it. My Aussie NZD took off for me, came up just shy on the 5 and reversed and went back down. So that stopped me. I got stopped in profit on that because it reversed a bit. But when you look at it on the on some of the higher time frame setups, the 4 to 1, I'm gonna wait for some additional confirmation to look at an opportunity potentially on that because of where it's sitting right now, right? Need some trend line breaks, some higher highs and higher lows on those higher time frames. But my 5-minute rolled over on me and stopped me out just as I adjusted my stop. But it's all good. It's all good there. But when you look at the I know I'm jumping around, but if you look back at that, if you look at that euro yen on the daily, because I was trying to earlier in the week, I was trying to figure out what it wanted to do. But on your daily time frame, if you run your fib off the low, on daily, you can see.
You got a different look.
You might be. I think you're right on. What is that? That's right around the 50, right?
Yeah,
just shy of 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see how it's taken off.
Yeah. This is kind of what I was looking at yesterday, and not certain in either direction, man. Because you got that just shy of the 50 there. You got an 8-6 retracement on the 4. I'm watching this trend line here to see what happens. It has been a nice move to the upside, and we talked about this yesterday, right? That support, previous daily support holding, didn't even get down there before it turned over and pushed up. So I'll be intrigued to see how it responds here at the trend line and this previous weekly level. I dig it though on that move to the upside, and still got a little bit more to go.
Yeah, I'm definitely liking it long. I'm just looking across the board at these euros for the most part, and they're long. So any type of corrections, I got to respect it. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
In real time, the medium to long term future, who knows with the euro, but right now they're pushing long.
Yep.
So you gotta play them as such. So I'm definitely looking for opportunities on that. Like you said, didn't really get that correction to retest that 142 level, 142.55, just kept taking off. So didn't get in my zone, but just keeping an eye out on those euros with the trend, which is up right now.
And we had the was it GDP data? GDP growth was revised higher, so it also gave a push too, as a catalyst for that to push higher too, give the euro some strength.
For sure.
Yeah, I dig it on that, man. They definitely are. Even the euro CAD continues to push higher.
Yep, and you have to just trade what you see. You know,
Exactly.
if you get those impulsive moves long like that, sometimes you just got to flip your you know, the long term what it's doing is you just got to flip your fibs over and get long right with it.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And that's what that one's been, pushing to the upside, right? I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you on it. And we're coming into, right, if we go back to the higher time frames on this Euro CAD, we're coming into 618 retracement level on the monthly, 618 retracement level on the weekly, right, with a weekly resistance here. So this could be likely where we head. Could be headed there to 146 on the Euro CAD, right? I dig it, Joy. I dig it. That we're definitely looking for that retest. But headed higher, right? The Euro's continuing to pick up steam. Okay. It's a beautiful swing to the upside, and we're continuing to run. Continuing to run. So I follow you there. Let's take a look. I'm gonna post the euro dollar.
Yeah. I made a comment on that Euro USD.
Yep.
Yeah.
So strong push, right? Come back to the monthly. Strong push up here, right? We got some indecision happening there. Weekly similar, retesting a weekly resistance level. From our daily time frame perspective, right? We're in that 618 retracement zone. All right, and it's trying to give us a bullish push today, right? We got a 382, stalled in that 118 to 127 zone, and gave us a deeper retracement. Okay, pushed up higher, boom. So here on the 4, we got a shallow retracement, right? Tried to start breaking down, and now it's turning over and pushing back to the upside, right? So we'll see if we're able to break back above this level here. Yeah, back above. This is that weekly level. See if we're able to break back above it. Okay. So, but it's respected the trend line the whole way up. Okay. So another bounce. See if we get another push here, get to that 4-hour D extension level and this weekly resistance, and then we'll see what happens, right? That's it. We got we don't have any dollar news coming until next week, as far as the rate decisions go. So we'll see how the rest of the week plays out and see if this continues to push with the rest of the euros, right? But you got an 80-20 scenario that we do want to keep our eyes on in the event that we get the additional confirmations that being said, right? We need to make sure we keep our eyes peeled too. Okay. Then on our 1, you got that 382, right? Off the B boundary, push down, retesting that trend line. And now we're trying to push back to the upside. So we'll see how this zone responds, how price responds in this zone. Okay. Do we get a push back there, or do we break it and continue rising higher in the short term? All right. So that is the euro dollar. Let's see what we got on the 5. That's a nice move. Let's see. Look at that. Shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone. Bang. All right. And we're still rising. Still rising. All right. That's the euro USD. So we shall see, right? We could see that continue to push to the upside there. Questions on the euro USD, that euro yen, or the euro CAD? No. Okay. Any other pairs that you guys got your eyes on for this week? No. Pound dollar. Take a look at. weekly time frame perspective. Came back, retested this weekly level here, right? And this week we're trying to push down, right? Trying to push down. So we drop down to the daily and we see we hit that D extension, right? In line with the daily and weekly resistance level here, right? It's a previous daily level. And we turned over, right? Trying to press back down and move lower. Couldn't break above. And once this daily candle closes, if it stays below, we'll have a new swing high there. So this daily level will get adjusted up like that. Okay. We drop to the 4. And this is our look on the 4. Okay. AB boundary, shallow retracement, push just shy of that 118 level. Just shy of the 118 level. We got a breakdown. So adjust this there. All right. Respect the trend line, push up. Now we're sitting at this trend line here. Okay. Okay. Now we're sitting at this trend line here. So we want to see what happens, right? Are we able to get a break of that trend line and move to the downside? Already been a nice move, right? If you had your trend line running to the highest point like so, all right, that's your inner trend line there. You got your nice break, right? Slight pullback, and it's trying to push lower. Okay, so that was your inner trend line there on the 4. We drop down to the 1. Similar look to that 4, right? Pushed above that 118, 127 zone into that resistance. And now we're turning over, pushing down. So be nice to see a nice clean break of this trend line here, right? To give us confirmation of a continuation, at least down to this daily support, but seeing things continue to move to the downside. So we'll see, we're in that 118, 127 zone, right? If you're not in this already, definitely make sure you get your confirmations. Like I said, I'd love to see a break of this middle trend line here, right? Strong bearish break, and then even potentially retest and then continuation down. Okay, so we got that. That's the look there, right? That's a longer term view from the 4 hour and the 1 hour. Potential opportunity for that to run to the downside there. Off of the 5, Benny looked at this last night as well. We had, was it that last move there? Bang. We had that shift there. AB boundary, push, took out the A, right? If you just ran your fib off of this last impulsive move to the downside, right? B boundary, pushed into the 118, 127 zone, and then took off. Right? Shallow retracement, 118, 127, boom. Right? It literally happened everywhere. Everywhere. Okay, that's the pound dollar. Questions on that one? Carolyn, what are you seeing? What are you seeing on this pound dollar? What are you looking for? Looking long, looking short? Okay. Cool deal. That's where we are. Questions on the pound dollar? Oh. Questions on anything that we covered this morning? Benny, you got any final thoughts for us, bro, before we wrap it up?
No, sir. Great session. Hey, continue to be patient. Continue to use your confirmations. Continue to trade with proper risk management. You can trade small, always scale in, right? Give yourself room to be wrong. You don't want to blow up, right? You want to lose a finger when you lose, not your whole hand. So other than that, look forward to seeing everybody, right? Tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then look out for those Canadian numbers coming out this morning, right?
Yes, sir. All right, good people. Have an awesome day. We'll see you tonight. Peace.
Thank you.